Hello, this is Martin from ELT Experiences. Today we're going to be looking at 5 ways to use newspapers in your EFL classroom. The first idea that I've got is, what's the story? I tend to print out images of newspaper stories that are quite common on the internet and that sort of thing, and you can look online at various news sources and you'll see lots and lots of ideas that you could use for getting newspapers and other ideas and images for news articles. And I print all these out and I give groups different images and they have to have a think about what the news story is and they then present their news story with the image to the class, and then they all have a think about whether it was true or false. And then what I tend to do is they can compare their news article, their prediction, with the actual article along with their image and see how close they are. Lesson idea number 2 is to guess the story, very much similar to the first activity with the images and that sort of thing. But for lesson 2, I tend to use keywords, maybe about 8 to 10 keywords, which are used within the story itself, and you just choose one story. And you get the students to have a guess about what the story is about, and they have to write up in their little groups, pairs, about the news story, and they then present to the class, and the class then choose the best performing presentation, and then you compare their stories along with the original, and then they've got something to see and see how close they are. Lesson idea number 3 was something that I worked on when I was doing my MA, and I used newspaper articles for one lesson for my practical teaching, and I tended to use images, headlines, and also the article itself, and I tried to get the students to match both the headline to the image and the headline image to the article. And it really gives the opportunity for students to have a look and to have a lot more information to hand to try and connect text. And for this activity, try and choose about 3 or 4 different short news articles with an image. Again, you can look at all these news articles online. They have an image to accompany a short text and the headline itself. So have a look online, it's perfect for that nowadays. And students then try and put them together in their small groups. And then what you can do is then you can separate groups out to different areas in the classroom. They all have just one article with the image and the headline to work on, and you get the students to read it, and then you can check the vocabulary. Lesson idea number 4. Now this again is like lesson idea number 1 and number 2, but this time you're using the headlines only, and you give a group of headlines to different students, and the students have to predict from the headline itself, quite a short extract, what the news story and the article is about. And you can give them the headline, they can make a sentence from the headline, you can demonstrate that on the whiteboard, and then you get the students to have a think about what the story is about, and they try and create the story themselves. You can then compare the original to what they've made, and then you can get them to see what sort of grammar structure there is and to compare the grammar structure as well. Lesson idea number 5, and again this could be used with all the other ideas that I've just mentioned above, and this is student questions. So when the students have completed a particular class, this is idea number 5, and this is student questions. And when students have finished a particular task, you could get the students to think about comprehension questions, because you don't need to do the questions yourself. You could get the students to do the questions themselves, and they can write down questions. So if students have different news articles that they've looked at, get the students in their small groups to go, write a question, a couple of questions about that newspaper article, and then give that newspaper article and the questions to another group, and you mix it all up, and then the students have to read the article and then answer the questions in relation to what the students have written. And then once they've finished answering the questions, they hand it back to the original group, and then they check the answers. Okay, so those were my 5 ideas for using newspapers in the classroom. What is your favourite, and what ideas do you have with regards to using newspapers in class? Have you used any of the ideas that I've suggested? Have you used any ideas that I haven't suggested? Again, please leave a comment below in the comment section, and also leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you very much. I'll see you later. Take care. Bye bye.